Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and the iPhone 12 mini has been out for a few months, and lately there's been a lot of talk about it, saying how that it's sort of a failure or it's not meeting Apple's expectations. iPhone 12 mini is still a great phone, and this is a 3 to 4 month follow-up long-term review. And the first thing is, apparently Apple overestimated the demand of the 12 mini. The 12 mini is basically a smaller version of the 12, it's just everything is the same except the overall size. So it's something a lot of people have been wanting for a long time. And I think the main complaint comes from the consumer intelligence research partners who said that the mini made up only 5 to 15% of total iPhone 12 sales. And that is actually a huge number that a lot of phone companies would be happy with. In fact, Apple sells about 200 million phones a year or so, which is an incredible amount. And that would be about 10 million phones on the low end if it was all iPhone 12 sales that we're talking about. So either way, it could be a separate business in itself. So it's not a failure from a sales performance standpoint, but it may not live up to Apple's larger expectations of what we get with the 12 Pro or 12 Pro Max or 12. Now, this particular phone is really appealing to a lot of people who really miss the smaller phones, such as the iPhone 5 that I have here, where the size is really small, compact, it's easy to fit in your pocket, and it's just easy to use. And then when you want to use a larger screen, you can move to an iPad or a Mac, for example. Or maybe you just don't want something as huge as a 12 Pro Max. The iPhone 12 mini is the right size for a lot of people, and the people I know that have one absolutely love their phone and would love to see Apple continue to make them for years. And according to Apple, or some recent leaks, it seems like we're going to get a 13 mini or 12S mini, and I think Apple will continue to make it for a while at least, because the people that have one absolutely love it. And price-wise, it's not as much as, say, iPhone 12 Pro, and as you can see here, depending on how you configure it, whether that's SIM-free or not, and depending on the size that you get, it can go anywhere from about $700 up to $879. Unfortunately, Apple charges a little bit extra for that additional unlocked or carrier unlocked SIM-free version, where it's $30 more than you would get it from, say, T-Mobile, for example, at $699. So they add $30 for that. So that's something I don't really like, but it's just a little bit of a incentive, I suppose, to go with your carrier on that side. Now, as far as its durability, well, it's been pretty durable. In fact, this has been really good. I've been using it on and off, and you can see it's held up really well. I've been using it with this slip case, no problems here, and the overall durability seems to be fine. This aluminum on the outside edge is really nice. The squared off design makes it much easier to hold, I think, than the rounded designs that we had before, and the overall button placement and everything is fine, especially if you have larger hands like me. You can just press the button with my thumb right here, and it just fits in the hand nicely. A lot of people that have smaller hands like it a lot since it's very easy to manage. Now, the glass on the phone has been very durable, and I think this is because not only is this using ceramic shield this year, where it's more durable if you drop the phone, but also because it's recessed or down into the frame of the phone. I think this helps a lot when you're putting this in your pocket or just slipping it into maybe a wallet or a purse or some sort of other case. I think it helps a lot based on it being recessed versus what we had last year where it stuck out over the edge and seemed to scratch much more easily. On all of the iPhone 12s this year, I've seen very few, if any, scratches whatsoever that weren't from bumping this into something metal, for example. So in general, they're holding up really well. You'll not see a single scratch on this, and any of the iPhone 12s I've seen have really had no scratches. And of course, you could use a screen protector, and that would fix all of those issues, but it seems to be very durable compared to previous years and the iPhone 11 series phones, for example. Now, as far as its display, that's something that is great this year. It's not compromised in any way, shape, or form, and the display is a Super Retina XDR display. It's super bright, of course, goes up to 1200 nits when playing HDR content, but regularly around 600 nits or so, 625 nits, and it can play HDR YouTube videos. So even though it's not a 4K display, what you get is the 4K bitrate, which gives you more information, so it could be a cleaner image overall, and then you can play HDR. So for example, in one of my videos here, We'll just rotate this. I'll turn it down and you'll see it will look super bright on this display because this video is not in HDR, but I think you get the idea that you can play HDR footage. If I turn it way down, you may be able to see it a little bit, but the footage is nice and crisp and bright. And it's great to see Apple including these on all of their phones this time around. So having high-end displays on everything that do 60 Hertz is really a great thing. We don't really compromise at all with this display. You've got the same great speakers that you get on all the other phones with the stereo sound when you're holding it this way. It's got great stereo sound out of the speakers on the bottom as well as the top here. And you get great reception. It's got a 5G modem in it with the millimeter wave antenna if you have that in your country. I personally don't have that, but depending where you live, it's going to vary. But in general, it's a really great modem. I haven't had any call drops or anything, and that's been the case across all the phones, including the 12 Pro Max, the 12 Pro, the 12. It seems much better than we've had before. The camera is also really phenomenal. In fact, the video that I showed you here just a moment ago under YouTube was filmed with an iPhone. Now, it's not the same iPhone, but they all have the same sort of camera capabilities. We have 4K HDR, Dolby Vision HDR, and then we have a wide-angle lens. You're not really missing much with the telephoto lens unless you go beyond, say, 2x, for example, because in many situations in bright light, Apple will use the main camera for the photos, even if they're zoomed into 2x, and then as the light dims a little bit, then it will switch to the other camera. You can try this by putting your finger over it in bright light, and you'll see that even when you go to 2x, it's using the same camera. Now, on the main camera of a 12 Pro Max, for example, you've got 3, and you're not really missing out. So here's the 1x camera. If I put my finger over it, and then I'll go to 2.5, and my finger is still covering the same one, but because we have bright light, it's trying to use that one. As you zoom in, it can shift to the different cameras depending on lighting situations. So you're really not missing a whole lot when you zoom into 2x, for example. So you've got the advantage of both cameras. The one thing you don't get, of course, is 4K 60 HDR in the settings. So if you go down to your camera settings, for example, we'll go to camera, you've got 4K 60, but not in HDR video. As you can see here, it says record up to 30 frames per second video in 10-bit high dynamic range, including Dolby Vision. So you can leave it on 4K 60. When you hit record in HDR, then it will go to 30 frames per second. So that's one thing you don't get with this. And the other big compromise for this particular phone is its battery life. Battery life in general has gotten very good on these phones in general, thanks to the newer A14 Bionic chipsets, which is not lacking here at all. It's super fast here. You're not going to see any issues. However, as far as the battery goes, you are going to see a little bit of a difference. The battery life is okay on this phone. And in order to show you real world usage, I wanted to reach out to someone that actually uses it full time since the day it came out. And that's actually my brother. So what I did is I had him take screenshots of his phone. He charges it every night, all night, and you'll see the maximum capacity of his battery health is 100%. So he's using just a normal lightning connector, charging it every night, all night. No problems there since the day it released. Also, you'll see here's his battery life over time. So he took a screenshot of this only a few minutes ago. And then also you can see some of the usage here. However, this is over the last 10 days, and a few days ago, that's some of his highest usage where he used almost 100% of his battery life, and he got 4 hours and 53 minutes of screen on time and an hour and 36 minutes of screen off time. What I've seen from most people is that the iPhone 12 mini is getting about 5 hours of screen on time, and this seems to be fairly common. So 5 to 5.5 hours is normal, and I think most people would be happy with this unless they're just a power user and really using it constantly. But that's an average user using it day to day as their main communication device, but not gaming on it, for example. You also get fast charging, and you've got MagSafe this year as well. MagSafe works well, but on the Mini it charges a little bit slower, around 12 watts instead of that 15 watts that you get with the larger phones. That's just due to the smaller battery capacity. But because the battery's smaller, they charge in the same amount of time, where you're going to get about 50% of your charge in 30 minutes using the Lightning connector, and a little bit slower with MagSafe. But you have the option for this, as well as accessories and cases and this sort of slip style case where you slide it into place, it recognizes it, and then shows you the time. So it works with MagSafe as well. and it will charge and show you all of that information here. The 12 mini is really nice, not being left out from all of the major features that you see with the bigger phones. And I think this is a great trend to see Apple continue, hopefully for many years. And I know that those that have it absolutely love their phones and don't want a bigger phone. So this makes a lot of sense to continue, even if it is only 5 to 15% of phones. That's still millions and millions of devices. So we'll have to wait and see what Apple does in the future here, but I think this is a great phone. It's a great purchase if you're deciding whether or not you should pick up an iPhone 12 mini. I would highly recommend it if you like a phone of this size and the battery's not a problem for you. As long as you don't use more than 5 hours of screen on time or have a charger nearby or maybe in your car, I think you'll be pretty happy with it. You're not compromising with speed, cameras, or anything more. But let me know what you think about the iPhone 12 mini in the comments below. I think it's a great phone for certain people. It's not for everyone, but it's for those that really liked the 5 but want all of the features of the latest devices. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.